and also guests from interstate and overseas. And also can I make a particular comment about the beautiful singing we heard before from Michelle Threadgold. It was absolutely beautiful, and I think we all enjoyed it. I'd also like to acknowledge that we gather today on the traditional lands of the Kaurna people, and that we respect their spiritual relationship with their country. Well, it's my great pleasure to be here today to join you for this public discussion on disability and the arts. And I want to touch on, I suppose, a number of things that I think are important about that relationship. The first is the general point. I think one of the great challenges for government and for service providers is how we can do what we do in a way which really gets out of the way of people with a disability. And a lot of what we do is well-meaning, but we have to do it in a way which empowers people with a disability. We have to look out about how we involve ourselves in the minute detail of people's lives and really ask ourselves, are we helping or are we hindering? In particular, are we helping or hindering people with disabilities to be part of the broader community? We've been doing a lot of thinking about that point recently, and we've listened to the disability community generally, advocates, and people with disabilities themselves, of course. And we've decided to commit ourselves to going down the path of self-managed funding, because we believe that speaks most clearly to putting the citizen at the centre of our disability services. And we think that is the most likely way that we can truly empower people with disabilities. Our aim is to help people with disabilities to determine their own journeys through life. All the evidence that we see suggests that self-managed funding empowers people to get out into their communities. And so in the coming weeks and months we'll be seeking to engage you in further conversations about how we move down that path of what will be quite a radical change for South Australia in terms of disability services funding. There are some other things that we've done recently which speak to this idea of engaging people with disabilities in their community more broadly. A recent initiative, the Companion Card, is aimed at just this. We launched it last December and enables people to, in effect, buy one ticket and get one free for a whole range of events. People with disabilities and their carers will now be able to gain access to a range of community events. The aim is to give people the freedom to choose their companion when they go out. But the question of community access is a much broader one. It's bigger than the arts and it's bigger than mainstream disability services. But for the arts community, there is the challenge to make venues and events accessible to people with a disability in the first place. And that doesn't just mean ramps for wheelchairs, it means things like signed performances, interpreters for the blind, the use of surtitles, as we've seen in the most recent festival event, Ainadama. And when that challenge is overcome, we also need to consider all of the challenges which any arts organisation face of attracting and building an audience. And that is obviously an important challenge. How we nurture artists with disabilities. We've taken a step recently to take a particular role in supporting disability arts organisation through the establishment of the Richard Llewellyn Arts and Disability Trust Fund. Over the past 4 or so years, it's provided more than $1.2 million in funding assistance to arts and disability organisations and projects. For those who don't know, Mr Llewellyn was South Australia's first disability advisor to the Premier and was an outstanding disability rights advocate and campaigner throughout his life. He knew that if the arts were to flourish, it needed the patronage of real dollars to open opportunities for individuals and companies. Last year, the fund distributed its first tranche of grants, $190,000, to a range of groups and people in theatre, music, craft and design, visual arts, literature, dance, new media, and community and cultural arts. The Llewellyn Fund not only supports artists with disabilities in specialised areas of practice, and also encourages arts and disability organisations to work together creatively. We're now seeing some of those performances come to life during this amazing arts month in Adelaide, including Tootie's Blind Date, which was performed the other night. South Australia has a strong history of supporting the arts. There is no better evidence of this than being here in Adelaide in March. I want to congratulate Arts Access SA for organising High Being Global and this public meeting in particular. This is an organisation which has for many years been the forefront of the disability arts movement here in South Australia. The state government is proud to be a sponsor. Ladies and gentlemen, the arts is about stimulating our senses and our minds, communicating our emotions and our ideas, about people telling their stories. And there are many stories about disability which are still yet untold. It's my hope that with state government support and the support of the broader community, the High Beam Festival will ensure that those stories will emerge and people with a disability will take their rightful place on the stage. Thank you.